The million-person march took place, and where was Pierre Poilievre? Joining me today to talk about this is Viva Frei. Thank you for joining me today, Viva. I put out a tweet and it got a lot of pushback. I was asking, where was Pierre during this whole thing when, other politicians were slandering the great family-oriented people that came out to this event? And, he didn't come out to the aid of, anyone.
Has he said anything yet? We're now 2 days later. Has he said anything yet?
Well, I was searching around. I didn't see anything. I had a lot of pushback on that tweet. Now, I put that tweet out saying, hey, complete missed opportunity today. And that's really the point that I had to say here. Sorry for my voice, anyone who's listening, may be coming down with something. But he didn't need to come out and support. Just acknowledge the actual grievance of the march, because the slander here was a lot of people were saying that these people were bigots, they were homophobic, all of these things,
far-right extremists. The Trudeau label.
And that's the thing. And what I wanted to make sure to say on this was teachers should never tell students to keep secrets from their parents. Period. And that's where people's objectivity is in this whole thing, and why they wanted to say something and get out onto the streets and say, enough is enough. This is what's going on. And Pierre has in the past said that he stands up for parental rights. But when it came to this, apparently his cabinet, his office put out a statement to other PMs in the Conservative Party to say, do not say anything about this. Stay clear of this. It's off limits. Don't talk about it. Now, I saw that you replied to my tweet in this whole thread, and this is why I invited you on the show, Dave. I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about what all this hot topic is about.
It's ridiculous. Like, I don't say that people have the conservative side of TDS full stop. People do tend to suffer from motivated reasoning to justify for their allies what they would criticize their adversaries for. You'll recall the biggest criticism against Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh, for that matter, as relates to the Ottawa truckers protest, was that none of them even came down to talk to the protesters to hear what they had to say. That was the biggest criticism. Now, true, Justin Trudeau's in power with a minority government. Jagmeet Singh has formed a coalition government with Trudeau. They're similar but not identical. But on the one hand, it's very difficult to create a world where you can condemn Trudeau and Jagmeet for not talking to the protesters and then somehow absolve Pierre Poilievre of not coming down, not to support, not to condemn. How about just to interact with? Especially when you had Joel Harden there protesting with the counter-protesters. You had Jagmeet Singh, I don't know where he was, I think he was in Toronto, standing against hate. Justin Trudeau putting out tweets that, I won't say defame, but that degrade the protesters. And Pierre Poilievre does nothing. The only way you could justify that is if whatever he did, you would justify. If he came down and protested with them, you'd say he's justified. He's standing up for the rights. If he comes down and talks to them, good for him. He came down to talk. If he doesn't talk, some of the explanations. He shouldn't politicize the event. He's a politician. Yeah. He's literally the opposition, alleged opposition, and they're down there supporting the counter protesters. He didn't have to come down and support the protest itself. Come down and engage, interact, hear what they have to say. Some people said, what were the other amazing... He's already expressed his position on it, and you pulled up an article from August. Good. Then come down and do it again when however many tens of thousands of people have taken a day off work to come protest on Parliament Hill. Come down and just reiterate what you've already said. Not that hard. So the people just trying to find a way to justify and rationalize his foibles. Look, I neither support nor condemn Pierre Poilievre, but if I loved him, I would criticize him similarly because I'd want him to become better. And if I hated him, I'd criticize him similarly because he's blameworthy for what he did, period. Maxime Bernier was there, not necessarily holding placards and shouting at the counter-protesters, talking to people, listening to them. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to Pierre Poilievre, it's the same blowing with the wind, the political winds, riding the current that he did with the trucker protest. He didn't immediately come out and support the trucker protest. He only did it when it became popular to do so. Then he gets his photo up over breakfast, supports them when it's cool, and then when Commissioner Rouleau comes out and ratifies Justin Trudeau's invocation of the Emergencies Act, and it's no longer so cool to support a protest that was declared, worthy of invoking the Emergencies Act, Pierre sort of flip-flops and says, oh, they weren't there protesting mandates, they were protesting just inflation. So it's a pattern. He could be better, and hate him or love him, the criticism should be the same, and hate him or love him, your assessing his foibles should be the same as well.
So have what Jagmeet Singh was doing at the event. He was actually in Ottawa, I believe, in front of the PMO's office, carrying signs and protesting against these parents, and that's where his position was. He put it out on his own tweet. This was his own thing. Justin Trudeau getting out there saying, let me be very clear, transphobia, homophobia.
Stop it right there. When someone starts a tweet with "let me be clear,"
Absolutely.
What's going to follow is going to be rubbish.
Yes,
Sorry.
Absolutely. He says transphobia, homophobia, and biphobia have no place in this country, saying that these people have no place in this country. This is the Prime Minister coming out and saying that these parents that are concerned about what's happening to their children have no place in this country. And I mean, I can't make this any clearer that if you're going to be the leader of the opposition, you should be opposing a political leader that is coming out and denouncing an entire group of people who have genuine concerns and misrepresenting them. And this is where I really I couldn't just stop and say, okay, well, whatever, we need to protect Pierre in his run against Justin Trudeau. Now, I have a bunch of the arguments that were presented.
Hold on.
Okay.
Just go back to Trudeau's tweet for 1 second.
Sure. There it is.
Biphobia?
Whatever that is.
What in the name of holy hell is biphobia? There's no such thing as biphobia, by the way. If anything, I mean, movies, love affairs are based on bisexual people. I mean, the bisexual thing, especially when it comes to attractive members of the species, it's not a phobia. It's actually a dream for some people. And, it's the basis of comedic, fantasy in American Pie, all these juvenile movies. There's biphobia. I've never met a biphobic person in my entire life. I've also never met a transphobic person in my entire life, because I think liberty-minded people, when it comes to adults, do what you want, live and let live. I have no judgment for a transgender adult, period, full stop. Do what you want so long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. When it comes to children, we're not talking about the same thing right now. Promoting transgenderism, gender-affirming care in children, it's not a phobia to say that should be outlawed. It's, I don't know, I always thought as a Western society we were against child genital mutilation, but now you give it the gender-affirming care, what's the word? Not pseudonym, but what's the word for a name? Euphemism.
A euphemism, yes.
Don't call it child genital mutilation, which is what it is. Call it gender-affirming care, and you can rationalize anything. But biphobia, the dude is literally making up phobias so that he can demonize everyday Canadians. So that was my joke. But yes, you're also right. He's coming out. Jagmeet, prejudice, what is it? Pride, not prejudice. Great play on words, pride and prejudice. There was no one prejudiced there. And Jagmeet, some people might say you calling up a crowd of ethnic minorities, religious minorities, bigoted, transphobic. Some people might call that one of your isms or your obias or whatever the hell names you drop on everything. Outrageous. Yes, Pierre should have said something.
Yes. So, I mean, if you went to the event, if any of these people went to the event, they would see that this was a very diverse group of individuals that were standing up for parental rights. This is what it was all about. And it's about, again, when it comes down to it, children being told by their teachers, hey, keep a secret from your parents. And when it comes to, I mean, you can't get away from that actual thing here in this situation. Now, the arguments that came out when I put out this tweet from conservatives, and this is arguments from conservatives about why we should give Pierre a pass on this one, is I wrote down a few of them here. This is a political matter, a provincial political matter. He doesn't have to chime in on it. That's one of the arguments.
But first of all, when the parties that you oppose as the formal opposition chime in on it, sorry, it's just exceeded a provincial matter. Trudeau and Jugmeat, the official parties that you're officially opposing, chimed in on it, and you stay quiet. That's one hell of an opposition.
Yeah.
Either agree with them and let us know, or oppose them as your party is supposed to be doing.
The other argument was the media will accuse him of bigotry if he jumps in and comes to the aid of these protesters.
Okay, to which I said, silence is violence. So if they want to do that, his silence will be bigotry anyhow. How dare he not support them? And that shows cowardice. If that's the argument, then they're treating Pierre Poilievre like a coward. And the media is not going to go any easier on his silence than they would on his clear, resounding message.
They also said he said it sometime in the past, so no need to address it today.
Fail. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. I'm joking. That's Billy Madison. Makes no sense. All right, I've said it in the past. And there's 10,000 people on Parliament Hill, so say it again. Or at the very least, just come and listen to them. What's the next bad argument that you heard?
He can't talk about his real plan if, and this is where it got ridiculous. He can't talk about his real plan. You can't speak out loud about his ideas. And I mean, you might as well just say trust the plan. It sounded like QAnon. Like you're getting some a plan that he hasn't come out and said publicly, and maybe there's this other plan coming out, and you're just making assumptions.
They're terrible arguments. They're terrible arguments, not because I just say they're terrible, because they don't even stand on their own legs. He said it before, so he shouldn't have said it the day of. Makes no sense. It's a provincial matter. It's not. It's a nationwide matter. That's why they were marching across the country. And even if you thought it was a provincial matter, when the parties you are supposed to be the official opposition to speak out publicly against it and defame their own citizens, yeah, I would say a good opposition party should speak out in defense of the citizens. And other than that, the silence will not buy him any more good graces with the media than saying something. What it is it illustrates that he's going to do whatever it takes to get into power, and then he's really going to change things from the inside. Horse crap. And if that means, look, people will accuse me of saying, Viva, you have terrible strategy. You ran for the People's Party of Canada, so you're not anyone to lecture Pierre Poilievre on good politicking. All right. That's an argument.
That is an argument. But I don't know if it's a great argument. Now, I would throw this out there because people immediately assumed that I was a PPC guy when I was arguing against Pierre Poilievre. I'm not a PPC guy. In fact, I have issue with the way Maxime Bernier came to this event. He came with supporters all holding PPC campaign cards. It seemed a little bit egregious to take over this event and make it about that and not make it about what the event was for, the children. This is what this was for. So, I mean, I have criticism for that, but at least he showed. I think it was a little bit in bad taste, but he did show.
I wouldn't criticize him for that because placard or no placard, everybody knows who he is. And I think it's not bad advertising to say, we will vocally support you and be on your side of things. But I can understand that, don't make it about the PPC. It's about the kids, but whatever. I would say, and I'll say it again, love Pierre or hate Pierre, the standard has to be the same. You either want him to get better, or if you're his adversaries, you're going to hold this against him. So it's not because you support somebody that you should support everything that they do. And if you find a way to justify everything that they do, unwavering, unquestioning support doesn't make anybody better. And it's also not the sign of, the intellectual honesty that is required for self-reflection.
Yeah, and I really want to stress this point as well. Many of the people that were in attendance at this event were not previously conservative voters. And because of the silence, may never be. That is a huge point. People have come out, set aside the taking a day off work, whatever, but people have come out and exposed themselves in the physical sense, because, not everybody on one side is not wearing masks. More people are wearing masks on the other. People have physically exposed themselves to ridicule, to political scorn, to social media scorn. And then they don't see the political party that's supposed to have their back come out and support them. And you have these families who, have made themselves visible to the wrath of the peace-loving, tolerant counter-protesters. And you don't even have the Conservative Party, the official opposition, having their back and supporting them politically and ideologically. It's a bad move. But people are inclined to forgive Pierre because he's certainly the lesser of the evils when it comes to Jugmeat
and Justin. But that's not to say, a politician with a spine is not a bad thing. So I saw one argument. If you want to know how to do it, look at Danielle Smith out of Alberta. This is how you promote something without politicizing it.
That was a little lame.
I have a couple.
It was a little lame.
I have a couple of good arguments against Danielle Smith saying one thing one day and the exact opposite the next. Standing with the rights and backing them, and then apologizing for having insulted people's fifis.
Yeah.
So she might be better also, but it's not because you support someone that you don't criticize them. I'd say it's the exact opposite. It's tough love. Parents try to make their kids better, and the people should try to make their politicians better.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. But so I forgot my pom-poms. I didn't realize I was supposed to be a cheerleader for a particular politician. And, if it's insulted some people in the audience, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. I'm going to say what I say. And we all know Pierre Poilievre is likely going to be the next Canadian prime minister. And my job in this whole thing is to criticize the power that is, and I'm gonna hold people's feet to the fire. If they say that they're gonna do a particular thing and they don't pull it off, I'm gonna come in and say against it.
You could be the biggest Trump supporter on earth. It doesn't mean that you don't listen to some of his answers with Megyn Kelly and say you got to tighten some of that stuff up going into an election. You could be the biggest diehard Pierre Poilievre supporter on earth. You think your adversaries are not going to jump on his mistakes and hold his feet to the fire? So criticize him, make him better if you love him as much as if you hate him, because they're not going to let him off the hook. And so you letting him off the hook now to not refine his answers, not hone his politics and his policy, and make sure he's got reflexive responses instead of actually being criticized by people who should be supporting him. You're not doing him any favors, and you're not doing the party any favors.
Actually, this reminds me of a good argument, is that Pierre Poilievre on his toes, on his feet, when he's confronted with an adversarial interviewer or something like that, is actually quite sharp. He's really good at that. And that's when he shines. It's when he gets back with his campaign crew and discusses strategy that we see these types of strategies come out. I think he might need to ditch some of the people in his strategy crew and his campaign crew, or whatever you call it, and do more of what he does on the fly.
Does anybody think that the media is not going to call him racist and bigoted and whatever, far right, for having not said anything today? I mean, he's not going to do himself any favors. He's not going to get in the good graces of liberal Trudeau-funded media. So at least get hated for the good reasons and for honesty, not for cowardice.
Absolutely. Dave, thank you so much for joining me today. Obviously, everybody knows where to find you, but say it anyway.
Hold on. Viva Frei on Rumble, vivabarneslaw.locals.com on Locals, and the Viva Frei on Twitter.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you again soon.
Absolutely.